Fade in. This story takes place in the New York Society Library. It is a members-only facility located in a grand old apartment building on Madison Avenue, New York City. There are elegant private rooms for reading, music, video, and traditional areas with book stacks and library tables. There is a small apartment on the 4th floor that once served the superintendent and his family. Interior, New York Society Library, lobby. A shipping box with a label from the EAP Society of Baltimore sits on a ledge of a bar-height information desk. The box moves slightly, as if it is possessed. A stunning librarian with glasses, Ligeia, 28, an impeccable goth style, manicured black hair and fingernails, works at the reception desk. She wears a headset. A clock on the wall reads 4:45. She doesn't notice that the box continues to move slightly. Ligeia speaks into her headset.
15 minutes until closing. The library will close in 15 minutes.
Patrons begin to exit through the lobby. Ligeia comes from behind the counter, follows them to the exit door. Ligeia is statuesque. A tight-fitting black suit with short skirt hugs her body. Black fishnets and platform boots with chains complete her goth look. Ligeia waits for the last person to leave, locks the large doors, and turns out the lobby lights. Evening light filters through the windows. Ligeia is surprised when the large box falls to the floor. She picks up the heavy box with effort, heads up the stairs. Interior, New York Society Library, 2nd floor. Ligeia reaches the top of the stairs, balances the box on the railing as she removes keys from her pocket. She heads to the door marked Rare Books, unlocks it. Interior, New York Society Library, Rare Books, continuous. Ligeia enters, turns on the light switch with her elbow. The room has traditional library shelves with books and locked glass cabinets with manuscripts on display. A reading table with chairs fills the center of the room. There is a fireplace with 2 wing chairs on one wall. Ligeia puts the box on the table, removes her glasses, and uses her keys to slice the paper tape that seals the package. Ligeia struggles to lift out a heavy wooden box packed in popcorn. It's about 16 by 20 and 8 inches deep. It has a key taped to the top. Ligeia uses the key to unlock the box. She opens the box. The lid and sides are lined with a thin metal, like a humidor used to keep cigars from drying out. Ligeia puts on white gloves from her pocket, begins to remove old magazines and load the contents onto a rolling cart. Ligeia picks up one titled The Broadway Journal, editor and proprietor, Edgar Allan Poe. She opens it. A translucent apparition, almost too faint to see, slips out of the magazine that is autographed by Poe himself. She touches it delicately, with reverence. Suddenly, the lights flicker and go off. A glow from the setting sun keeps the room from total darkness.
What the?
She doesn't notice a semi-transparent figure of a man standing behind her. She goes to the lights, switches them back on. The figure disappears. The lights go off. The figure reappears. Ligeia turns around and gasps. It is Edgar Allan Poe.
You're not allowed in here.
The semi-transparent Poe lunges at Ligeia, grabs her throat.
A better!
Ligeia tries to pull his hands from her neck. She starts to choke and gasps for breath.
I've committed no crime.
Poe shakes her, with his hands still around her neck.
You held the scarf with chloroform to my face. I looked into your eyes before I lost all sense of sensation.
You're crazy.
Well, you paid for your evil deed.
You have arisen from a most profound slumber.
I'm not a dreamer. Take me to my murderer.
Ligeia struggles to break away.
Who is it? I will help you.
I'm totally distrustful of human sincerity.
Who is this person?
He was a rival with a caustic pen. He spread lies. Lies, I tell you. He ruined my life.
You're a pessimist, I get it. Let me go.
Poe drops his hold on Ligeia.
Nothing I do matters anyway now.
Ligeia goes to turn on the light. Poe grabs her hand.
No, I exist in darkness.
Come, sit with me by the fire.
He follows her as she heads toward the fireplace. She takes off her white gloves, stuffs them back in her pocket, puts in a couple of Duraflame logs, lights a fire. She pulls one of the wing chairs over by the other and sits down facing the fire. Poe sits with his side to the fire. He is semi-transparent.
This better not be a trick. I don't trust you.
It's easier not to trust, but it doesn't stop being cheated.
Poe gets annoyed. He is short-tempered.
I'm seeking revenge for a cruel and unnatural death.
So tell me, how can I help you?
Take me to Shuttersworth, that dirty worm. Help me throw him in a dark pit filled with rats that will gnaw at his flesh while the sound of a swinging axe blade moves closer and closer, ever so slowly until it slices his throat.
That sounds like torture. Tell me what happened.
Poe becomes enraged. He stands up and paces.
What happened? What happened? He had me killed. That's what happened.
Flashback. A black space with a spotlight. No scenery. Poe stumbles in. His head is covered with a black bag, hands tied behind his back. He attempts to scream, but his voice is muffled, as if he has been gagged. He falls to the ground. A booted foot emerges from the darkness and repeatedly kicks Poe mercilessly in the stomach. Back to scene. Poe notices that he has cast a shadow from pacing in front of the fire.
Ah, the madness of memories floating as visions that most will never view.
He puts his hands over his ears, as if to keep from hearing something.
Could that be my beating heart?
Flashback. Poe lies as if dead in the black space with a spotlight. Rats swarm in and cover his body, tearing through his clothes and gnawing at his flesh. Garbage falls from above until his body is covered.
I was kidnapped, drugged, left unconscious in a garbage heap to rot.
Back to scene.
That's horrible. I'm so sorry.
He walks over to the library table where the magazine cart is. He picks up a magazine, not his, and glances through it.
I died alone, a shameful disgrace, robbed of my contribution to the literary world. I could have been somebody.
He walks back and plops into the chair.
Let me rest in the calmness of despair.
Ligeia kneels on the floor at his feet. She takes his hand.
That's not true, Edgar.
He flings her hand aside, jumps up. Ligeia stands.
How do you know my name? I never introduced myself.
You're famous, Edgar. Everyone knows who you are.
You've deceived me. Wait, what did you say?
You're famous.
Poe is intrigued.
Do you mean famous like people know who I am?
Yes.
They've read my poems and stories.
Yes.
Where am I? What year is this?
You're in the New York Society Library. It's 2023.
I'm famous. Famous like Voltaire or Lord Byron.
More famous.
More famous. Like Shakespeare.
You were called the American Shakespeare.
Poe smiles, ever so slightly.
What? You know, I did live in New York for a spell.
Ligeia nods.
In the Village.
On West 3rd. How did you know that? Are you a detective?
It's not West 3rd anymore. It's Poe Street, and not for nothing, but you invented the detective story.
Poe becomes suspicious.
You're lying. I can sense you have a proclivity for sin.
You have given new boundaries to the real world.
Poe gets depressed. He plops back down in the chair.
So much time has elapsed. My memories become feeble from so many years of suffering.
At least you're not dead.
What am I?
You're a ghost.
He speaks down to her, as if she is inferior.
Absolutely not.
What are you then?
I'm a soul that has not been able to move into the afterlife. Who's to say where life ends and death begins?
She laughs.
You are a benevolent spirit, Edgar. Let me help you resolve your issues so you can find peace.
I will never find peace unless I punish the man who ruined me.
He jumps up, grabs her with both hands, and pulls her close.
You have to help me. Who are you? I don't even know your name.
I am Ligeia.
From my story.
From the Greek water goddess.
Ligeia lifts up her already short skirt to reveal a mermaid tattoo on her thigh that peeks through her fishnet stockings. Poe is stunned.
Why, I met you when I was just a boy. I was studying abroad. The turncoat who adopted me was wealthy.
You met me or the goddess?
Flashback. Night. The moon is shining on the Mediterranean Sea. A 13-year-old boy walks a tall, grassy path on a cliff. He passes an ancient Greek temple. In the distance, a flickering light approaches. A woman, Ligeia, in white robes and headscarf, walks towards him, carrying a lantern.
She was a triumph of all things heavenly.
The woman beckons him toward her. He obeys.
I recognized her longing, but I am not capable of expressing her wild desire.
The woman caresses his face, kisses him softly on the lips. Back to scene.
You, the goddess.
He looks at her closely.
It was you, wasn't it? I could never forget such a beautiful face.
Ligeia is flattered.
You are sweet. Thank you.
Do you remember me?
I'm a huge fan of your work, Edgar. My dad is a literary professor. Fall of the House of Usher was my go-to bedtime story.
Edgar smiles.
Good choice.
You should see the movie.
Movie? What is movie?
I'll show you. You're going to love this.
She goes to the fireplace and uses a poker to break up the fire. She places the fire screen securely in front of the glowing embers.
Follow me.
Is this a trick? Are you deceiving me?
She goes to a storage cabinet and removes a battery-operated lantern. He follows her as she exits the room and locks it. Interior, New York Society Library, hallway, stairs, continuous. The hallway and stairs are dark, with portraits of famous authors on the wall as they ascend.
Why are you so distrustful? You're always expecting the worst.
People with their heads in the clouds reject the dark realities of human fallibility. They act only in service of themselves.
Maybe, but if you combine optimism with acceptance of the life you've been dealt, the sky's the limit.
Poe stops to look at a portrait of himself on the wall.
That's me. I remember the sitting. My old friend Thomas Sully painted this.
Really? We weren't sure. It's not signed.
Ligeia moves onward. Poe lingers on his portrait, pleased.
I feel so immortal.
They reach the 3rd floor.
One more. I'm on the 4th floor.
You're asking a lot from a 175-year-old man.
They keep climbing. Ligeia lights the way with her lantern.
That reminds me, I have to have the magazines delivered to Sotheby's for auction tomorrow.
Wait, no. I need to return to that journal or my soul will never rest. We must kill Shuttlesworth tonight.
Interior, New York Society Library, Ligeia's apartment, continuous. They enter into a cozy apartment. Poe looks around. There is a fireplace. Ligeia lights a fire.
Make yourself at home.
He sits down in a comfy chair.
You live here?
The apartment comes with the job.
Take me to Shuttlesworth.
I'm not helping you kill anyone. Besides, not everyone gets to become a ghost. By now, your enemy is either a skeleton or a phantom.
Poe becomes angry.
You have left me with feelings of complete abandonment.
I was thinking, how about if we put a big statue of you out in front of the library?
Poe contemplates.
How big?
She goes to a workstation with a PC with a large screen. Clicks it on. Poe is impressed.
What's that?
Ligeia types Poe, Boston, into the taskbar.
You're in the digital age.
Digital?
An image of a life-size bronze sculpture of Edgar Allan Poe, striding, carrying a suitcase, coat blowing in the wind, and a raven, is displayed on the screen. Poe looks. He jumps out of his chair to get a closer look.
Is that big enough?
Why would Boston honor me in this way?
You were the first American writer to ever support yourself entirely by your work.
He starts laughing and applauding.
You've got a deal!
He spontaneously hugs her. The mood turns serious. They kiss.
Let's run away to Paris. There's still a Paris, isn't there?
I would enjoy spending more time with you.
He pulls her close. They share a passionate kiss.
Marry me.
I can't marry you, we just met. but we could be lovers.
Poe sits back down.
Well, the old crankshaft is still working.
Ligeia smiles.
I noticed. But what about the magazines? Sotheby's is picking them up tomorrow.
Pack up that box without my journal. As long as we have that magazine, I can stay a ghost. You don't object to the fact that I'm just a ghost of a man.
Edgar, you're a rock star. It doesn't matter to me at all.
What's a rock star? Is it like the moon? Because if it is, I feel more like Saturn.
She sits on his lap and kisses him.
Saturn it is.
So, you are human after all.
I do not fear darkness. I illuminate the night.
Poe laughs heartily.
In death, no. Even in the grave, all is not lost.
Fade out.